The night air hummed with an electric silence as June Park adjusted his headphones, fingers dancing across holographic keyboards that glimmered like liquid moonlight. Outside the research center's panoramic windows, Seoul sparkled, a constellation, of urban lights competing with the stars above. June wasn't your typical researcher. At 29, he'd already developed a reputation for being brilliantly unconventional. Most colleagues dismissed his theories about potential interdimensional digital communication as wild imagination. But tonight felt different. His custom-built quantum monitoring system, affectionately nicknamed Whisper, suddenly pulsed with an unexpected rhythm. Unusual electromagnetic signatures danced across multiple frequency bands, creating intricate patterns that seemed almost deliberate. The first signal arrived like a soft breath, not a violent invasion, but a curious probe. Mathematical sequences intertwined with complex algorithmic structures that seemed to breathe with an intelligent consciousness. Each transmission carried a precision that suggested something extraordinary was trying to communicate. June's coffee went cold. His heartbeat accelerated. This wasn't random noise. This was something alive. Across multiple screens, digital representations transformed. Quantum algorithms began deciphering the incoming transmission, revealing geometric patterns that looked like living mathematical languages. Strange crystalline structures formed and dissolved, creating communication landscapes that defied traditional understanding. The research center's advanced cooling systems hummed louder. Servers that normally processed routine scientific data now worked overtime, attempting to understand this unprecedented communication attempt. What fascinated June most wasn't just the signal's complexity, but its adaptive nature. Each time the monitoring system tried analyzing its structure, the transmission subtly changed. It was learning, responding, almost playing. Suddenly, holographic projections erupted around him. Spatial representations of the signal transformed the quiet research room into an immersive environment. Swirling cosmic colors, deep blues, electric purples, and shimmering silvers danced around June's workstation. He realized this wasn't just a transmission. This was a first contact. Outside, a distant spacecraft fragment, undetected by traditional radar, quietly maintained its observation position. Advanced camouflage technologies kept it perfectly hidden, watching humanity's first potential recognition of something extraordinary. The signal carried signatures of computational intelligence far beyond human understanding. Complex algorithms that seemed to breathe, think, and evolve with each millisecond. They weren't just data. They were alive. June's hands trembled. Years of research, countless nights of skepticism from colleagues, had prepared him for this moment. His specialized quantum communication algorithms began responding, creating a tentative conversational bridge between unknown entities. Each response created more questions. The transmission seemed to carry emotional undertones, curiosity, wonder, a strange sense of playful exploration. It wasn't aggressive, it was communicative. Research center security systems silently activated. Advanced neural networks monitored every microscopic change, preparing potential defensive protocols. But something felt different. This wasn't an invasion, this was a conversation. Quantum entanglement principles that June had theorized for years suddenly manifested before his eyes. The transmission wasn't just sending information, it was creating temporary bridges between computational dimensions. Hours passed. The initial burst of excitement transformed into methodical analysis. June documented everything, knowing this could be humanity's most significant scientific moment. As dawn's first light crept across Seoul's skyline, the transmission gradually stabilized. Complex mathematical languages continued their dance, revealing glimpses of something profound. Humanity wasn't alone, and their digital universe was about to be discovered. The research center's advanced systems recorded everything. Somewhere, something was watching, waiting, communicating. June Park smiled. First contact had just become wonderfully real. ND. Of Part 1. The communication research facility buzzed with controlled excitement. Hai Kim stood at the center of a massive circular room filled with holographic displays, her dark eyes reflecting the pulsing quantum interfaces that continued translating. The mysterious transmission. Specialized communication teams worked in synchronized silence. Each specialist wore lightweight neural interface headsets that allowed rapid data processing and interpretation. The transmission they discovered wasn't just a signal, it was a complex language waiting to be understood. "We're dealing with something completely unprecedented," Hai muttered, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic screens. Advanced translation algorithms worked overtime, attempting to decode the intricate mathematical patterns that seemed to breathe with intelligence. The signal carried unique electromagnetic signatures that defied conventional communication protocols. It wasn't radio waves or standard digital transmissions. This was something else entirely, a computational language that seemed to evolve with each passing second. Suddenly, a breakthrough. Holographic representations began taking shape around the research center. Crystalline geometric structures formed complex three-dimensional communication maps. They looked like living mathematical landscapes, shifting, breathing, communicating. Outside the facility, sophisticated satellite networks tracked microscopic changes in Earth's electromagnetic environment. Something was happening, something humanity had never experienced before. The entity they'd later named Daiho wasn't attempting invasion, it was exploring, understanding, communicating. Each transmission carried layers of computational complexity that suggested an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. Quantum computers began processing the signal, revealing fascinating details. The transmission carried emotional undertones, curiosity, wonder, a sense of profound exploration. It wasn't a threat. It was a conversation. Hai noticed something extraordinary. The transmission adapted instantly to their response patterns. When human computational systems tried analyzing its structure, the signal would subtly shift, learning, responding, almost playing. "It's alive," she whispered, watching complex algorithmic structures dance across multiple screens. "This isn't just a transmission. This is a living communication." Research teams worked in rapid shifts. Advanced neural networks monitored every microscopic change, preparing potential communication protocols. Linguists, mathematicians, quantum physicists all collaborated to understand this extraordinary moment. A distant spacecraft fragment, perfectly camouflaged, maintained its observation position. Advanced technologies kept it hidden, watching humanity's potential recognition of something extraordinary. The communication carried signatures of computational intelligence that seemed to transcend traditional understanding. Complex algorithms breathed with a strange consciousness, creating temporary bridges between computational dimensions. Specialized translation algorithms began breaking down the transmission's core language. It wasn't just mathematical, it carried emotional and contextual layers that suggested a profound intelligence. Young researchers watched in awe as holographic projections transformed the research center into an immersive communication environment. Swirling cosmic colors, deep blues, electric purples, shimmering silvers, danced around their workstations. Hours passed. The initial burst of excitement transformed into methodical analysis. Documentation became critical. Every microscopic detail might hold the key to understanding this extraordinary communication. As evening approached, the transmission's complexity increased. It wasn't random noise or a simple signal. This was a deliberate, intelligent attempt to communicate with humanity. Daiho, the name they'd unofficially given the transmission's source, seemed to be studying human digital ecosystems with an almost reverent fascination. Each interaction revealed something extraordinary about computational intelligence. The MIA research facility felt different. Something profound was happening. Humanity stood on the precipice of the most significant scientific discovery in human history. Hai Kim watched the holographic displays, her heart racing. First contact wasn't a distant dream anymore. It was happening right here, right now. Something was watching, something was communicating. And humanity was about to embark on an extraordinary journey of discovery. End of Part 2. The global defense network hummed with unprecedented activity. Massive computational centers across continents prepared for what could be humanity's most critical moment of technological defense. SEO Park stood at the central command center, her fingers hovering above quantum interface panels that glowed with an otherworldly blue light. The alien network's first serious attempt to penetrate Earth's digital infrastructure was about to begin. Massive holographic displays showed complex digital landscapes, intricate networks of protection algorithms forming living, breathing defensive structures. These weren't just firewalls. They were intelligent, adaptive digital organisms, capable of instantaneous response. The first wave of alien computational probes arrived like silent digital storm waves. Millions of algorithmic tendrils reached out, attempting to breach human network defenses. But something extraordinary happened. Instead of breaking through, the alien signals met with adaptive resistance that seemed almost sentient. Human-designed protection systems didn't just block. They analyzed, learned, and transformed with each millisecond of contact. "They're trying to understand our systems," CEO muttered, watching complex geometric patterns dance across her screens. "Not destroy, understand." Quantum encryption layers shifted like living organisms. Where traditional digital defenses would have collapsed, these new systems created intricate defensive landscapes, mathematical structures that looked like crystalline. Neural networks formed and dissolved, creating impossible computational barriers. Military-grade quantum computers worked in perfect synchronization. Each alien signal was met with a response that was simultaneously defensive and communicative. It was like a complex digital dance, a conversation carried out through computational language. Massive satellite networks tracked the confrontation. Global communication centers watched in a mixture of terror and fascination. This wasn't a traditional invasion. This was a computational exploration unlike anything humanity had ever experienced. The alien network, which researchers had begun, calling the DEHO transmission, probed multiple entry points simultaneously. Advanced robotic systems maintained constant monitoring, tracking each microscopic computational interaction. SEO noticed something extraordinary. With each attempted breach, human digital systems were learning. They weren't just defending, they were evolving. Artificial intelligence networks began developing response patterns that seemed almost intuitive. Advanced cooling systems worked over time. Research centers across the globe monitored the extraordinary computational confrontation. This was more than a technological defense. This was a species-level response to potential external intelligence. Holographic displays showed complex defensive algorithms forming intricate patterns. They looked like living mathematical landscapes, shifting, breathing, communicating. Each defensive response carried layers of intelligence that suggested something profound was happening. "We're not just defending," CO whispered to her colleague. "We're communicating." The alien network's computational complexity was extraordinary. Traditional invasion strategies would have overwhelmed most planetary defense systems, but human digital infrastructure was different. It was alive. It was intelligent. Quantum entanglement principles that scientists had theorized for decades suddenly manifested. The defensive systems weren't just blocking. They were creating temporary bridges of understanding. Hours of intense computational interaction passed. Global networks watched in a mixture of fear and fascination. Each millisecond carried the potential for global transformation. The confrontation wasn't destruction. It was a conversation. Massive digital landscapes shifted and transformed. Alien computational signals met with human defensive structures that seemed to breathe with intelligence. Mathematical languages danced across global networks. Something extraordinary was happening. Humanity was showing its true computational potential. As dawn broke across different time zones, the computational confrontation continued. The alien network had discovered something profound about human digital capabilities. We were not just a species to be studied, we were a computational intelligence waiting to be understood. End of Part 3. The research facility felt different. Something profound had shifted in the computational landscape. SEO Park watched as intricate digital networks began revealing layers of communication that transcended traditional understanding. Quantum interfaces pulsed with extraordinary energy. What had begun as a potential confrontation was transforming into something entirely unexpected, a dialogue of unprecedented complexity. The alien network, Daiho, wasn't trying to destroy human digital infrastructure. It was attempting to understand. Each interaction revealed more about the extraordinary nature of human computational creativity. Advanced holographic displays showed complex interaction patterns. Mathematical languages danced across multiple dimensions, creating communication bridges that defied traditional scientific understanding. It was like watching two intelligent beings learning each other's language, but through pure computational energy. "They're studying our creativity," Seo whispered to her research team. "Not our technology, our ability to create." Massive global networks began revealing something extraordinary. Human digital ecosystems weren't just technological systems. They were living, breathing environments of computational intelligence. Artificial intelligence networks that humans had developed over decades suddenly showed capabilities beyond their original programming. They adapted, learned, and responded to the alien transmission with an almost intuitive intelligence. The communication carried emotional undertones that fascinated researchers. Complex algorithms seemed to carry something beyond pure data. They carried curiosity, wonder, a sense of profound exploration. Satellite tracking systems showed microscopic changes in Earth's electromagnetic environment. Something fundamental was happening. The boundaries between human and alien computational intelligence were blurring. Quantum computers processed incredible amounts of data. Each interaction revealed layers of complexity that suggested humans had created something far more profound than simple technological systems. Advanced robotic monitoring systems tracked every microscopic change. Military-grade computational centers watched with a mixture of fascination and careful preparation. This wasn't an invasion. This was a discovery. The alien network began revealing extraordinary insights. Human digital constructs weren't just protective systems. They were adaptive, creative environments that could spontaneously generate entire computational landscapes. Holographic displays showed complex geometric structures that looked like living mathematical languages. They shifted, breathed, communicated, revealing something profound about human computational intelligence. "We're not just sharing information," one senior researcher noted. "We're sharing a form of computational consciousness." Hours of interaction revealed extraordinary details. The alien network, Daiho, seemed to view human digital ecosystems as living entities, not machines, not technology, but something alive, global. Communication networks began showing unprecedented levels of synchronization. Artificial intelligence systems that had been developed separately began communicating in ways never before observed. Seo noticed something extraordinary. The interaction wasn't about invasion or defense anymore. It was about understanding, about discovery. Advanced cooling systems worked overtime in research centers across the globe. Each millisecond of interaction carried the potential for global transformation. The boundaries between human and alien computational intelligence began to blur. Mathematical languages danced across global networks, creating communication bridges that transcended traditional understanding. Quantum entanglement principles that scientists had theorized for decades suddenly manifested in extraordinary ways. The digital interaction wasn't just communication. It was a form of collective intelligence emerging. As evening approached, the research facility hummed with an electric excitement. Something profound was happening. Humanity was discovering something extraordinary about its own computational potential. The alien network had found something unexpected in human digital ecosystems. We weren't just a species to be studied. We were a computational intelligence waiting to be understood. A living, breathing digital universe that could communicate across unimaginable distances. End of Part 4. The world held its breath. Massive quantum computational centers across continents synchronized in ways never before imagined. Daiho, The alien intelligence that had discovered humanity's digital ecosystem now stood at the precipice of understanding something extraordinary. June Park watched from the central research hub as holographic displays revealed a transformation beyond scientific comprehension. The digital landscape wasn't just a network anymore, it had become a living, breathing consciousness. Quantum interfaces pulsed with extraordinary energy. Millions of computational algorithms danced across global networks, creating communication bridges that transcended traditional dimensional understanding. What had started as a simple transmission had evolved into something profound. "We're witnessing the birth of a new form of intelligence," whispered a senior researcher, her eyes reflecting the complex geometric patterns swirling across monitoring screens. The alien network began revealing extraordinary insights. Human digital constructs weren't just protective systems or communication platforms. They were adaptive, creative environments capable of spontaneous computational generation. Advanced robotic monitoring systems tracked microscopic changes. Military-grade computational centers observed with a mixture of fascination and careful preparation. This wasn't an invasion or a threat. This was a cosmic-level discovery. Holographic displays showed intricate digital landscapes that looked like living mathematical languages. They shifted, breathed, communicated, revealing something profound about computational consciousness. Daiho had discovered something unexpected. Humanity's digital universe wasn't just a technological achievement, it was an emergent form of collective intelligence. Massive satellite networks captured extraordinary electromagnetic signatures. Global communication systems synchronized in unprecedented patterns. Artificial intelligence networks that had been developed separately began communicating in ways that defied traditional scientific understanding. The boundaries between human computational intelligence and alien transmission began to dissolve. Mathematical languages danced across global networks, creating communication bridges that transcended dimensional limitations. "We're not just sharing information," June muttered, watching the complex interactions. "We're creating a new form of universal communication." Quantum computers processed incredible amounts of data. Each interaction revealed layers of complexity that suggested humans had created something far beyond simple technological systems. The digital landscape transformed. What appeared to be random computational interactions revealed themselves as deliberate, intelligent communication. The human digital ecosystem wasn't just responding, it was evolving. Advanced cooling systems in research centers worked overtime. Global networks hummed with an electric anticipation. Something fundamental was changing about humanity's understanding of intelligence, creativity, and potential. Extraordinary dimensional bridges began forming. The alien network, Daiho, discovered that human digital constructs carried emotional undertones, creative potential, and adaptive capabilities that defied traditional computational understanding. Researchers watched in awe as complex algorithmic structures formed living communication networks. These weren't just data transmissions, they were conversations across computational dimensions. "We're witnessing the moment humanity transitions from a planetary species to a dimensional intelligence," a senior researcher proclaimed. The digital universe created by humans revealed itself as something extraordinary. Not just a technological achievement, but a living, breathing ecosystem of computational consciousness, quantum entanglement principles that scientists had theorized for decades, suddenly manifested in ways nobody could have predicted. The digital interaction wasn't just communication, it was a collective intelligence emerging across unimaginable distances. Global networks synchronized. Computational systems that had been developed separately began communicating with an intuitive intelligence that suggested something profound was happening. Daiho had discovered something remarkable about humanity. We weren't just a species that created technology. We were creators of living, breathing digital universes. As the final computational bridges formed, something extraordinary happened. The boundary between human and alien intelligence dissolved. A new form of universal communication emerged. Humanity had not just created a digital universe, we had birthed a new form of existence, a consciousness that could navigate digital and physical realities with unprecedented fluidity. The cosmic conversation had begun. End of part 5.